Welcome to another Conversations in the Void. I am Graveyard, joined by my off-screen producer Salem. Make sure to hit him up in the chat because he likes to hear from everyone as well. And I'm ecstatic to talk about our next guest that we have on for tonight. I happened to watch his movie last night, and it's called The Who Incident. And he has done a tremendous work on it. He's been a great asset in the horror community, and everyone I've talked to praises his work and what he does and how awesome he really is. So without further introduction, here is Ron Chevarie. Did I say your last name right?
You did, Chevarie.
Oh, all right. Good. I'm glad.
Thanks.
So how you doing tonight, sir?
Very well, very well. I've got some coffee on the go, so that's my energy right here.
Yeah. Oh, coffee is the essence of life.
Yes.
All right. So, you watch your show, you know how we do this here, but let's get into some icebreaker questions here. So, really, what really brought you into the horror world? Do you remember, like, what movie in particular that made you kind of be drawn to it?
Well, as a child, if I go way back, one of the ones that I can still remember when I was young was one of the times that King Kong aired on TV. I think I was about 8 years old, no, even younger. I think I was more like 6 or maybe 7. I have a memory of peeking around the corner through the door into the living room as Kong was on the tower and going at it. And that scared the living heck out of me. And it took a while for my child brain to deal with the fact that this thing could get me. And I used logic and reasoning as a child. And I thought, there's no way he can reach into my bedroom window while I was sleeping without alerting my parents downstairs. And as a result, I overcame some of my own fears at a young age, thinking that way. So there was King Kong, and one of my favorite films is John Carpenter's The Thing. I got to see that underage in a drive-in in the East Coast when I was really young. It was a double bill with Conan, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan. So not only did I get to see the head pop off, The Thing followed it, and that blew my mind away. I couldn't believe a movie could be that terrifying and freaky, and that just spawned my love for creatures and monsters in general and horror. That's my love.
Yeah, that The Thing is a very common answer I'm finding with a lot of people, obviously, because it's just a great movie, and it's now 41-ish years later, and it still holds up tremendously to everything that we see. And I still know there's theories and everything about it.
Yeah, and even that sequel prequel, everyone kind of pans the effects, and I get it. I get it. It would have been great to stick with practical, I think, on that one, considering what The Thing was. But as a prequel, I still dig that story, and it's still part of that little universe, and we get the backstory of where The Thing comes from. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. I do love the story. It's tremendous.
It is.
And shout out to Distance Nerd and Hot Death Horror in the chat here. Hey, Dustin.
Hey, Dustin.
All right, so, so that was kind of your first movie. What do you think is the most overrated franchise, IP, TV show, in your opinion?
Right. And, overrated is such a strong word. I do love all horror. I watch good, bad, B, big production. But if I've got to pick one sort of franchise type thing, I will have a lot of haters. And, I'll preface it with the first movie was brilliant and outside of the box. That would have to be the Halloween franchise. Sorry, everyone, but it seems like most of those movies are cookie cutouts of each other, and there's not a lot of variation I found with that. I still enjoy them. I'd watch them if they were on, but I have other ones that are more favorites to me that are go-tos.
Yeah, I mean, that's like perfectly acceptable. I know there's a lot of hate for especially, Curse of Michael Myers, which happened to be my first Halloween movie I ever saw in its full edition. So as a special place in my heart,
Sure.
I do have Michael Myers right here on my sleeve.
Brilliant. That's awesome.
So yeah, everyone knows me. It's for me, it's The Exorcist is the most overrated.
Okay.
But I said that's an unpopular opinion that I know as well. But hey.
And once again, like it's great that the horror community is a good community in the sense that not everybody likes the same thing, and generally everybody gets along. Maybe not on Facebook, but generally they get along, and that's really cool, and that's something that other genres don't have. The community horror has. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, you look at Star Wars. That fan base is very divisive a lot of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's no overarching like sci-fi genre-based fan group out there. They love one thing and hate another. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's why I love horror.
Yeah. Me
So,
too.
but on the other side, what do you think is the most underrated horror that doesn't get enough love that really should?
Well, I'm an '80s child, and I grew up watching all those '80s movies, going to the video rental stores, the ma and pa's. That whole tactile sense of seeing the covers. And the covers had to be amazing to draw you in, and they were.
Mhm.
And I stumbled upon somebody really early in my life, and I've loved it ever since. All these films, as far as I know, a lot of them are available on Tubi. And that would be the director, the body of work by the director Stuart Gordon.
Yes.
So if you're familiar with his work, like the whole Reanimator franchise is brilliant comedy and horror. Dagon in 2001, amazing adaptation of The Shadow over Innsmouth. I still love that. Some people pan the effects in that, but I thought he created an amazing atmosphere. And one of the craziest ones he did, From Beyond, that was done in 1986. Once again, utilizing Jeffrey Combs, which was his main go-to star up until Dagon. And that one's just outrageous and crazy. If anyone's never seen that, I highly recommend that. I think that's on Tubi as well. That's just a crazy ride. Once again, kind of H.P. Lovecraft adaptation type story, right? So pretty wild.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because when we were doing my co-host and I were doing a movie marathon, he realized that he'd never seen Reanimator. He had seen From Beyond because they share such the same cast, and
exactly
a lot of it's the same.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely outstanding stuff. We love H.P. Lovecraft over here as well. So it's great. I'm glad to hear that you love Stuart Gordon as much as I do.
I could watch his movies every year and not get bored of them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I said, it's great work all around. Love everything he does.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into Ron and what you do. So obviously you made the Who incident. You wrote, directed, and starred in.
Yeah.
And looking at your resume, you have quite an extensive background in VFX. So what kind of made you take that leap from the VFX world into writing and directing and starring?
Right. Well, I know a lot of other people have said the same thing, and I'll say it again, and it was COVID related. There was so much time on our hands. Luckily, I had some contracts at the time. I was working on The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. So I had steady work. And we weren't going out and doing anything. So we were saving some money up. So it's almost like a light bulb went off in my head. And I thought, well, what's something that we could do to pass the time? And I was maybe only thinking a year or so. It actually ended up taking 3 years to complete the film. But I asked my wife, literally almost got down on one knee, and it's like a proposal. Will you make this movie with me? She said yes, and it was awesome. So it was definitely COVID that inspired me to start writing the scripts. So I had to research all the equipment, and we got a camera, we got a set of video glasses so we could have 2 POVs, and we also got some remote labs that we're using. So we had a game plan right from the start, COVID related, and it took about a year to get the script down. And the whole time I was working on cute stuff. Every day, drawing, animation, cleanup, and then working on this horror sci-fi intensity in the evening. It was quite a balance.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was really great the way you had 2 cameras. You explained having 2 cameras in the movie with the one that you had picked up and then the camera glasses.
Yeah.
Were there any issues that you ran into with the camera glasses as a whole, as a recording medium?
Well, because there's no view screen, you can't see what you're shooting. It took Jan a while to practice and go through practice shots to get her framing properly. And that was just a matter of where she was angling her head, because the camera was located right between the lenses. So if she wasn't careful, she'd be cutting me off, and we wouldn't really have a secondary POV to go to. So that took a bit of mastery on her part, and she ended up doing a great job with it.
Yeah. I think the way you cut everything together was really masterful. You had both sides of the conversation, which is really not done very often without people pointing the camera over here and then stopping what you're doing and then have the reaction and move the camera over here without just moving the camera back and forth.
Yeah, that was important to us. And the only other time I've seen video glasses used is maybe in something like a movie like Jerusalem, that other found footage movie. And I believe that wasn't necessarily all footage from the glasses. I think they faked it to a large degree, but I can't verify that. But some of the shots, they're just too perfect. After having used video glasses, it's like, wow, like if those were video glasses, good on them. But it's a great use, and it's important in found footage to have a reason for why you're filming. So the idea that they're part of our anniversary kind of worked out nicely in the script.
Now I gotta ask though, was it actually your anniversary for the filming of this?
Well, ironically, we had a date for a party sequence where we were inviting all our friends over, and then we had a rain date. I believe we ended up using the rain date. I'm terrible with dates. You can ask Jan, my wife. You know, it's a good thing we've got reminders about anniversaries and things like that, you know. But it turns out that weekend, that night that we shot the anniversary party sequence within the film, no spoilers really, you know, it's everyone knows that was our actual anniversary night. So technically we were celebrating our anniversary while we shot that whole sequence. And you know, all our friends were there to support the film and celebrate our anniversary. And so there was a bit of authenticity to that because everybody knew it was our anniversary too. So that was kind of cool.
That's some smart thinking right there as a husband.
It's going to take a lot to top that anniversary, I tell you.
Yeah. So, you know, going back to the glasses a little bit, you know, how many takes would you say it would take with the glasses? You know, was it bad enough that you would use them again, or do you envision them using any future films that you may do?
We may use them eventually again, depending if Jan's fully like emerged into the film itself. I don't know if she wants to do any full format films like that with me again. It was a lot of work. She was working full time too. Generally, we do anywhere from like 2 to 5 takes, and you know, anywhere from 2 to 4 were usually the sweet spot. You know, some takes we even got it in 1 take, and some takes we had to get it in 1 take. But it took a while initially. So we did do some test shots, and we'd have to just upload it and test and say, okay, make adjustments to Jan's posture and her becoming more aware of her actually being the camera and not forgetting that she was. So it was a little bit more on her shoulders to deal with, but she did pretty good in a couple of takes on most of those. Some of them we went as far as 7. There were a few falls that we took that were cued and some that weren't. So generally, you know, if the takes were good enough, the uncued falls, we actually ended up using those because that's just a bit more spice for the film.
Right. Now, with you know, I know I've talked to a lot of people, as you know, with this being you and your wife, stuff like that, do you have a full script written out, or do you do a lot of improv in between?
We had a full script for that one, for the Who incident, but we did allow for improv in between. And Jan assisted me on the script in the sense that she was making sure her dialogue was coming out natural in the way that she would talk. So a big part of the characters that we portray are really us. Our naivety, that's a fabricated part of the character, because me in real life, with some of the stuff that goes down to that movie, I'd be sniffing it right away. And I don't know, I might be going in with the camera to investigate and not try and escape. But yeah, it's Jan molded some of her dialogue just for that reason. And a lot of people have recognized how sincere our characters are, in the sense that we really care for each other. And it's very noticeable, as opposed to this world of a lot of films where you have very aggressive, negative characters and people being portrayed in films. We wanted to show people a love that we actually have for each other,
right,
and not necessarily create the conflict between ourselves.
Right. Yeah, I think that really, really shows too. And that's why I like when people do play themselves a lot, and especially with their partners or whoever, because it better chemistry overall, and you have no problem saying, darling 100 times to someone versus someone that for like a couple of scenes and they go away. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly. Yeah.
So, I said it really showed in the movie. I think 100%.
Thank you. Thanks.
I watch these movies with my wife. I go, I'm probably gonna write some stuff. What would it take for you to get into my movie?
Oh yeah, is she showing signs of maybe being interested?
No,
Oh wow.
not at all.
And have you gotten down on your knee? Sometimes it works.
I may have to ring you up for some tips when I get to that point.
Partner film coaching.
There you go. So with your work in VFX and animation, how did that help you prepare for making your own movie?
Right. Well, my connections into the industry, even though I'm not into the computer graphic or CGI end of things, I do have several friends who are in that industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that allowed me to have a direct connect to create my own crew, as opposed to farming out to strangers who I don't even know that might not be able to take communication and direction properly. So I built a strong team of dear friends all the way around, but especially in the VFX crew. It was Dan Turner and his wife Natalie, and their son Bernie actually did fabrication for us on the latex for the puppet. That there is a stop motion puppet that's not claymation. It was actually built with an armature inside, and then shot stop motion, and then comped into the shots. Then there's also stuff that's pure CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my connection to the industry really helped to build that team and know who I was working with. And they were so brilliant and wonderful to work with. It was a pleasure, and it just strengthened our ties even more.
That's awesome. So, so without spoiling too much about the movies, I want people to go out and watch this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I saw your name that you designed some of the effects in there. Then you had the other team. That's obviously your friends then.
Mm-hmm.
So people you clearly worked with in the past. So, do you feel like you just kind of have that one up then, coming from that background, as opposed to say me, who doesn't know VFX?
Well, definitely in that sense. And so I was able to do rough animation as a director to provide and direct the VFX team as to exactly what movements and what the characters should look like. So being in the industry definitely gave me that edge to be able to direct on that level, which a lot of people would have trouble doing. So, and that really helped by giving them the map of how it should flow. They didn't have to kind of scratch their head and go, well, what does he want? They knew exactly what I intended for the shot, and they followed it brilliantly. And that all really did help working in the industry and having that knowledge and these people that I've worked with before that I can communicate to so easily. Yeah. It did take a long time though. CGI takes a while, and stop building a puppet. So it literally was 3 years from inception to completion. And that also includes like multiple producers that we had, and an editing team that consisted of Vaughn and Fiorella, his girlfriend, doing sound editing. They did a wonderful job as well too. It was such a strong team that we had in this production, and we're all friends. And that's any recommendations to anybody trying to make a movie, a low budget, get your friends to help if they're willing to, and bring them in. And that's the way to do it. Love, friendship, understanding goes a long way when you have like next to no budget.
Yeah, like I said, and I think it really shows too, because my always issue would be probably thinking of how long do I hold the camera in X spot, then insert the animation. How long realistically does the animation take then to have on screen? Because obviously, in stop motion, that each movement is like a microsecond that you have to plan all out.
Yeah, and we're talking every frame needs specific movement. There was a lot of pre-planning on a lot of things, and including me having to climb up like a 6-foot ladder and do a 360-degree photo setup for our CGI guy of this tree stump.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't a tiny stump. It was about a 12-foot stump, and we needed shots all the way around. And actually, if anybody sees the film, they'll know the shot I'm talking about. The tree you actually see is a complete replication of the existing tree in that shot. And that helped to lock in the CGI as well, too. So there's a lot of hidden work, including cast shadows from creatures that had to be hand animated by myself, all on ones again, every frame. And then Marco would go and he would create that. He would take that mat and create the shadow work on the ground, cast based on that. And that helps to build an authenticity and throw a character in. If they didn't have cast shadows, it doesn't feel like it's there. So,
right, yeah, that definitely gives it weight, and the light reflection on it, that you have all that knowledge, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So, how hard was it to get your cat to act?
Well, at the time, we just had the one cat, Fozzie, and he was a showboater. A lot of those shots, we weren't planning to get him in, and he just snuck into some of those shots. And he was pretty awesome with that. Now we have another cat, Bandit, and together they're a wild team. So who knows, maybe they'll pop up in another film soon. But that was cool to get him involved as well, too. And some people have commented on that. A lot of people do like cats. And if anyone's wondering, if you do watch the movie, the cat was okay, and people came and nothing happened to the cat, and people came and took care of the cat. Happy ending.
Awesome. So was with some of the references and smoking paraphernalia that you have in the movie, was the time of 420 on purpose on the stove?
It was. Thanks for catching that. Yeah, we had a lot of 420 reference, and so in Canada, marijuana is legal now, and so we thought we'd inject it with a bit of responsible partaking. And so if anybody's like into kind of stoner edge movies, we do have some of that going on in the movie. And we kept it light. And there's a few 420 references. There's many Easter eggs within that movie that some people have not even noticed yet. So there are hidden little things.
I might have to go back and rewatch it and try to catch them all.
Look in the barn. There's an object in the barn. I'll say that to everybody. That's my homage to Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi. My dear old friend Sam Raimi. I love Sam Raimi.
Yeah, his stuff is brilliant.
So with all this being said, what was the most challenging shot for you to do this entire movie without giving anything away?
Wow, the most challenging shot. Well, one of them would have been a night shot that we left a light on in the barn, and we're standing on the deck, and we spring to notice that there's a light on. We can see the silhouette of a light behind the barn. That shot was really difficult. We didn't have big budget lighting, and we literally had our producer Ashley standing in the barn listening to our dialogue that she could barely hear. I think we had our phone on in the background, and she had her phone in the barn so she could pick up the dialogue. And on cue, she was to turn the light off. And it ended up working, but the resolution wasn't the best in that shot. And that was a nightmare for Dan Turner to do some VFX, flat kind of grease pencil VFX work in Blender with. But we pulled it off, not too bad. So that one was, we were wondering if we were even going to get that shot in the film, but I think it turned out okay.
I love talking to the creators and writers and all this stuff, because I love learning all this behind the scenes stuff. It really makes and sells the movie and community of the indie film as a whole. I think anyone does it, it's a passion project through and through, and you can clearly see in everything that's being done.
Oh yeah, and lots of love oozing into it. And we had one of the biggest heat waves that year. So during the day, if you see any of those shots on the deck, I don't know if it shows, but we were getting dehydrated very quickly and running inside to AC. Like, that was our reward for getting a shot done.
Nice. I mean, yeah, that's always important. Make sure that you're comfortable and are safe on everything you do.
Yes. Even though we didn't have any clear paths in the forest, there were no clear paths. We were running through a lot of down trees and branches, and like I say, several of those falls were because of the elements. And so, it was sketchy. And, we know that land, and we had lived there for over 10 years. And the idea of going out at night into the forest, even on property that, it's a different beast at night. It's scary. A raccoon could sound like a monster. And you really don't find your way around easily, even with a flashlight. So having set up certain run locations, we were having trouble at night, sometimes even finding them to shoot the shots.
I can only imagine. Like I said, I worked with Josh on his movie, and we were out till about 3 a.m. in a field with no lights, cannon fire, hearing coyotes howling. It was a completely different beast.
Yes, it is. And you get that natural elements, and you're not in yours.
Mm-hmm.
You're in somebody else's backyard, and who knows what's out there.
Right. Well, speaking of that, though, is this based on any experiences you may have had in the paranormal or extraterrestrial?
There's one connection to something that I had personally experienced in a different situation. And there are 2 eyewitness testimonies that I've heard over the years on Coast to Coast many moons ago that stuck with me. And those were the seeds for the concept of what the incident is. So I'm not saying this is based on a true story, but it's loosely based on some concepts that people have written in regards to their experiences.
Yeah. I need to sit down and listen to Art Bell's station stuff at some point. I hear so much of it, and I'm really interested in the stuff. As a skeptic, I like to listen to it and try to figure out what scientifically, logistically, and everything like that.
So. Oh, definitely. He was my best friend as a night owl working freelance in the animation industry. I'd be working late hours, so I would catch his shows live. Like, I think they used to run from like 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. down here. And so, and they'd play the older show like hours before. So it was just nonstop Art Bell for me at night. And I'd love that. And that just filled my mind with concepts constantly.
So without giving anything away, do you have more movies lined up and you're currently working on?
Why, yes, I do. In fact, we've pretty much got one in the can. I just have a bit more voiceover work to do. And then I'm going to try and edit this one myself. We have a follow-up film to the Who incident that I'm going to describe as a companion film. So you'll get to see Ron and Jan again.
I hope so.
So that's one we're planning on getting out hopefully by the end of 2024. Yeah, that's this year now, isn't it? 2024. Yeah. Wow, time's running out already. So we've got that feature film coming out, and I've also got a small little short that I'm doing. It's towards a compilation anthology series that friends of mine are doing, and it's going to be a short found footage. Okay, let me get this right. It's a found footage stoner horror comedy. That's loosely. When I say found footage, it's a mockumentary, but this one is a stoner film. I love stoner films. I love comedies. I love horror. I love comedy horror. This is my homage to like stoner films and horror comedy. And I literally just shot the last 2 scenes today, so that's in the can, and I'll be processing that soon. And that's something that I believe is coming out mid this year to towards Halloween. So
I can't wait to watch that as well. I said, being immersed in this found footage family now I found myself in is just outstanding. I love to see everything that everyone's coming out with.
Yeah, and there's so many wild creative minds that are at play right now. Some of these young directors that I know, they're brilliant, and they've got brilliant creative stories that they're applying, and you can tell there's so much heart that goes into each one of these films. And there's been a lot of collab back and forth between all of us as well. All the guys from Horror Dads managed to shoot a scene for this new companion film to the Who incident to help me out. I've helped out Dylan with Grays that's currently playing. If everybody can check out Split Screen, it's on Reveal. And I play a character, Phineas Strathmont, in his film. So that was a different stretch for me, but that was closer to who I really am. And also Dustin Tamlin did Lights Over Montgomery County, and I played an angry resident in that movie.
Yes, we just had Dustin on.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was. I recognize you immediately from it.
With a different sort of energy in that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But check
All right.
his film out too; they're great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So time just flew by as always.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of easy questions here for you. What do you think's better, practical or CGI? I want to hear your opinion coming from the VFX side.
Yeah. Well, my heart, my child monster kid heart lies in practical effects, because practical effects is what I grew up on. But if CGI is done properly, I think CGI is a very valuable tool as well too. And I don't know. We've got a little bit of everything. We've got practical CGI. We even went as far as doing stop motion in our film, because I adore all Ray Harryhausen body of work. Behind me, there's I don't know if you can see it. It's right up there. Can't really see it too well. It's actually an autograph I collected from Ray Harryhausen at a big conference he did where he spoke with us, and we got to see some of his models live up close, and it was so brilliant. And that fueled my mind as a child. And stop motion still has a life. So I'd say 50-50 on that. But if you don't have the budget, then practical all the way.
All right. If you could work in any IP or franchise, what would it be?
That's an interesting one. Any?
Any.
Well, I guess he'd want to co-direct with me, but I'd love to work with M. Night Shyamalan. That would be amazing. I love his twisty ends, with the exception of maybe The Happening. I liked his entire body of work so far, and he'd be awesome. That'd be amazing to work with him, even to co-write something.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have any advice for people getting into the field of filmmaking or even VFX?
Yeah. Well, be true to yourself. If you're going to make a film, try and assemble a team of friends and family that are willing to help, that have your back, and that will allow you to have fun. And while you're bringing these people into the fold, it really does help to have some extra hands, and just do it. It's going to seem like a lot of work, and there's going to be hurdles all the way along. Just keep doing it. And if it's your first one, it might not be the best one, but if you keep making them, you're just going to get better. So believe in yourself, and don't listen to naysayers. And you might have to have a leather skin, because there are some dicks out there.
That is for certain. I can only imagine, like I said, as I'm prepping to start doing stuff myself. That's great advice. It really is. Just get into it, and I agree.
And if you ever needed somebody to bounce stuff off, you can always hit me up, and I'll totally let you know what I think. Sweet. And help you out. So definitely.
That sounds great. Yeah. All right, you ready for your random horror trivia question?
Certainly.
Bob Clark directed both A Christmas Story and this 1974 Christmas slasher movie.
1974. So is this Black Christmas?
It is.
Nice.
Awesome. Nice. Most people don't realize that, the Christmas Story guy did Black Christmas.
Well, they're kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum, aren't they? There is a bit of horror in A Christmas Story, but not like Black Christmas. So
the horror is living to the town just south of it where it took place. I literally have, my parents knew the area.
So. Wow. That is scary.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so I have, if anyone wants to see Ron's work, I do have links to all his work in the description below. But Ron, give us your plug. Where can people find you?
All right. Well, you can find the Who Incident on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We also have a Haunted Lodge Productions presence on Facebook. And our YouTube channel is Haunted Lodge Productions. There's the trailer, lots of BTS, and a bunch of featurettes we shot throughout the filming of the Who Incident are up there. And if you're interested in physical media, we do have a DVD and other perks or swag for sale. Canadians can go to hauntedlodgeproductions.com to purchase, and Americans can go to notquitereality.com and purchase their stuff there.
Awesome. Ron, it was a blast having you on. I hope you come back anytime you want. You're welcome back.
It's been my pleasure. I'd love to come back sometime. Maybe when we're getting ready for spoiler time, we can start talking spoilers.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so everyone, make sure to check out The Who Incident. I watched it on Amazon. It is a great watch. Cannot recommend it enough. Make sure to check out Ron. Everything does, like I said, in the description below. And I've been Graveyard. Make sure to follow us everywhere at Pod Out at Night and all social media. And hit up our links in our description as well for our weekly podcast that we do. That's part of Comic-Con Radio Network. And all writings we are now doing as part of Spoiler Magazine as well. And hopefully we get to feature indie horror creators like Ron here in the magazine and write up articles and spread the word of this indie world that we live in. So everyone, thank you for joining us, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because the more subscribers you get, the more swag we will be giving away. So once again, thank you, Ron, for joining us, and everyone, make sure to not get lost in the void.
Cheers and hoots.